Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of our Building a More Perfect Union resource series. I'm really excited today to be with a colleague from the Chicago Area Writing Project, and she's here to represent the team working on teachers writing for civic engagement. This was a project that was supported as part of NWP's Building a More Perfect Union work that was funded by a National Endowment for the Humanities COVID Recovery Fund in 2022-23. So I'm Christina Cantrell from the National Writing Project. I'm really excited to be able to talk about this project. And why don't we get started with you introducing yourself, and maybe I can think of some too, like let's think of some words or something that Building a More Perfect Union makes us think about just sort of overall with this project. So I'll let you start as you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, Christina. Thanks so much again for doing this and making it so easy to share the work that we've done at Chicago Area Writing Project. And my name is Christine Wilbur, and I am a director of the Chicago Area Writing Project. And Rebecca Woodard and Andrea Vaughn are the faculty directors with me, and they are both affiliated with the University of Illinois at Chicago. And so we have a small but mighty group of three of us. And some words that come to mind when I think of building a more perfect union, the word for me, I think, is sort of collectivity. Chicago is a very strong union town. Um, and so we like collective action here in Chicago, but also at the Chicago Area Writing Project, thinking about how collectivity can be much smaller and gentler for teachers. And we've been doing a lot of work, thanks to you and your team and the grants at National Writing Project from National Writing Project, of teachers just coming together to write without any real preconceptions about the product that's ultimately produced. And so exploring kind of that third space that's created when people write together and thinking about that as collective action for teachers who are very much in need of support today. So that's what I think of. I mean, building a more perfect union is kind of the kindness and gentleness that comes from writing together, and then thinking about that as collective action.
That's lovely. Oh, I love that idea. I was thinking about building, like that idea of building, that this is an ongoing process. And I really appreciate that, both the emphasis on sort of the the way that we approach it and the way that we engage it and the action that it can invoke.
One of the
Really
things we
important.
talk about in our meetings so frequently is how isolating the profession of teaching
Mhm.
is. As much as we plan together, or as many sort of, I don't really know if there are many opportunities to work together actually, but anyway, it can be a very lonely profession. You're in your classroom by yourself.
Yeah.
And so have really valued, the telling each other our stories and the strength that comes from building those kinds of connections and building the time in to be together.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I know out of this process, you built some amazing resources that you can share out of it. One of those is published on our teach.nwp.org website, which we are very excited about. So we're thrilled to share that tonight. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where this came from and who you developed it for and what inspired it?
Yeah, so the work that appears on the website is something is not mine. It is all of our Chicago Area Writing Project writing together. And the tools that are there are meant to help teachers write. And they came from, there's four different sections that you can see on the site. And each of those sections came from a particular meeting that we held. And there were a lot of writing teachers in the room, of course, and we all had sort of our favorite writing exercises that sometimes work with students and sometimes don't. But they really worked with us, and we loved them, and they became kind of touchstones for our writing together. And so the four different, I guess, toolboxes that are on the website represent kind of four sets of our favorite exercises. Each of them builds on the other, and helps teachers think about not just writing in their own practice, but taking their writing public and lifting their voices toward the idea of civic engagement and kind of, you know, being involved in the media stories about education that so rarely include teacher voices. But there are also lots of things for teachers who are too shy or hesitant or just not there yet to think about, to include in their writing practice too.
Great. So I could share this. I could share my screen. I could share the resource itself.
Yeah, there it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a quick guide to beginning or restarting a writing practice. And that's what we ultimately, I think, we really took from our time together is our, after the pandemic, after a change in leadership at the Chicago Area Writing Project, really restarting our kind of Chicago Area Writing Project identity and our writing practice together.
Great. And these are the 4 sections here that you were talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, the first one is kind of getting started, thinking about topics that matter to you. We always do a lot of kind of playful things. I mean, writing is sort of playful in and of itself, or tinkering with words and, kind of remembering the joy in being able to do that. And then the last 2 are ideas about how to extend the reach of your writing, and whether or not you're successful doing that, how to reflect and regroup and keep thinking about ways to elevate your voice in a public way, public facing way.
Great. And because
Yeah.
it's
So,
our
oh,
website,
go ahead.
I wanted to point out that each of these is a page that you can click on and visit all the sort of, there's lots of ideas
Yeah.
here of things to do and the resources to do them. So each of these is its own resource. And then you can scroll down and read a little bit more about this project and also
Oh,
get a link to, oh, there's the whole
there we
team.
are.
And they are holding something. So
Yeah. So, through the course of our meetings and through the course of all these exercises, we did a lot of writing and we compiled it in what you can see here, these green anthologies that we ended up having published through Amazon. And it is just that it's a collection of all the writing that we did. And some of it, there's all different genres. There's poems we wrote together. There are op-ed pieces. There's a radio interview that one of our members did with a reporter from National Public Radio. All different kinds of things collected in this book, that has a lot to say about our experiences of teaching over the past year or so. Some of them are very funny. All of them kind of make you smile and feel a little bit wistful about, all the things that it means to be a teacher. This is the "I love you, but" is my favorite. It's a riff on an essay that poet Beth Ann Fenley has on the Poetry Foundation website, where she talks about, um, I love you makes for a great relationship, but really boring poetry. And you need that but, that complicating factor to really make a great love poem. So we got thinking about, and I've used this in my own English classroom with kids. Mrs. Wilbur, I would have done my homework, but whatever, it's fun. So we took this idea and said, something, we love education or some aspect of education, but
but
and we kind of tried to tease out the very complicated contexts that we all work in. So these are just they're it's my favorite part of the anthology.
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Here, I'll stop sharing. So what were the implications for you all doing this work together? I mean, it sounds like you were able to publish this and you said this was connected to restarting your community, right? Or
Yeah, very much so. I mean, from a very specific measurable sense, you'll see a couple of pieces in the anthology that were in fact in media outlets, Chicago Chalkbeat, NPR. So we have had literally public facing writing on behalf of ourselves and civic engagement. From a more spiritual aspect, maybe we have reconvened the Chicago Area Writing Project after a year of, of pandemic and this and that. And along you, Christina, and your team at National Writing Project, reimagining what a chapter of what we should look like, what we could look like. Um, you know, and what we can look like without having much money.
Right.
And I think too, that's where the experience of writing together becomes really powerful, because it doesn't cost that much for everybody to get on a Zoom together and to listen to stories and to write together and to capture those feelings. And I think that's what we were able to do. And that's what's most important with this work is kind of create that National Writing Project ethos for our own chapter. Does that answer your question? I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I was also wondering too, like in going back to the idea of building a more perfect union too, like how this kind of supports that larger vision. That, what I saw was this committed group of teachers working together, and I could imagine a group of teachers doing this, not necessarily at a writing project too, that actually a group could come together to do this kind of writing, and that having, like you said, the teacher voice in the public discourse, it is a possible outcome. It's not like, it doesn't sound like it's like the outcome that everybody has to do, but it is a possible outcome of this work.
Definitely. And I think we were, we set out to publish
Hmm.
publicly. And I think we were all a little surprised at the strength, both the strength and the pleasure that we derived from just being together, and sort of how that became the moment of civic engagement for us.
Right.
Because it's scary, teachers aren't in the national dialogue as much as they should be, and it's writing in a way that most teachers don't. You're hooking your op-ed piece to a current event, and you're writing it quickly, and you're getting it out there, and oh my gosh, what if you change your mind? And it's a very daunting process. And I think so much of that was mitigated by our, like, sort of the more quiet moments we had together, where, in the space that we share, nobody has to explain themselves or
Right.
sort of the struggles that you face in your classroom. It's all understood and shared. And there's a lot of strength in that I don't think we get many other places as teachers, as
Yeah.
educators.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
great.
in terms of like building a union, like
Hmm.
that's almost literally kind of what we did. We fortified each other and boosted, ruffled up our feathers and got back in the fight, knowing that there were so many other people, that we were working alongside.
Yeah, and tapping back into that Chicago collective spirit, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, I really appreciate both the anthology that you're able to share, and we'll make sure to put the link to the anthology so people can read it
Yeah.
themselves. You said it's on Amazon too, so that's
It
exciting.
is. You can order it. We're famous.
That's awesome. And
You can get you can get Gabriel Garcia Marquez's new novel, and you can get the
at the
Chicago Area
same
Writing Project
time.
anthology all together.
That's great. We actually also have a bookshop.nwp affiliate, so maybe you can order it
Cool.
from there too. Um, I'll check and see if we can make a link. And then at the teach.nwp.org website, I'll make a link to that collection of resources that you've so
Yeah.
thoughtfully put together, I think, for other people to really take up this work and sort of engage in a way that you all
Yeah.
did. So
Hopefully they're fun and easy to use. That was our intent, is to make them
yeah,
very friendly, and you don't need a lot of materials or preparation. It's just kind of a straightforward but very rich way to get your writing going.
yeah, to get going. Oh, so appreciate it. Okay. Well, thanks so much for talking to
Thank
me
you.
about this resource and the work that you spent this time doing. And I'm glad we got to see the team too,
Yeah.
because we felt so much energy from them over this past year. So
Yeah, and I mean, we're so grateful to you and your team, as well. This was such an important project for us, and such a beautiful and creative and wonderful way for us to get back started here in Chicago. So we're so grateful for to be included in this work.